Name of the company we're chatting with today is Robomart. We'll get more into that here in a second with Mr. Robomart and my guest today, Ali Ahmed. Ali, welcome aboard, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, here's a big softball for you. What is Robomart?
Perfect. So Robomart is the world's first mobile supermarket. You tap a button to hail a store on wheels, and when it shows up, you get to shop checkout free for all your essentials right at your doorstep.
Now, there's so many different facets of Robomart, but you mentioned one of them briefly. I'm going to back up. It all starts with the app. Tell me about that. You have considerable experience with app design, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I've spent 10 years, actually 11 now, building startups and deploying apps in my last few startups. But the experience for consumers with Robomart all starts with the Robomart app. They hail a store so they can choose between the different Robomart types, pharmacy, snacks, and eventually grocery and others. And they can see what it stocks, but they're not creating a basket. They're simply tapping a button like they would on a ride-hailing service. And when the Robomart shows up, they can unlock the door through the app. It's automated for them. They grab what they want, we track everything they take, and we send them a receipt a few minutes later. The fastest engagement so far has been 4 minutes. And that's not drive time, Brian. That's the entire experience.
Ollie, I must tell you, there's days that I can't find my car keys and get the car out of the driveway in 4 minutes. So I can certainly understand how you're able to expedite. Because let's face it, the one thing we can't get enough of is time. And anything you can do to save time. I mean, I can summon this thing while I'm still finishing breakfast or shaving or getting ready for my day. Instead of having to go to the store comes to me and I get what I need. And I just picked up a lot of time. How did you come up with this idea? I mean, is it truly a accumulation of everything that you've done in your professional career and you thought, wait a minute, I have an idea? Or was it maybe for personal reasons you thought, well, this is such a hassle, I wonder if we can do something to get around it?
So my co-founder, Imad, and I were working at Unilever about 14, 15 years ago, and he was in the ice cream division. He came up with the idea to recreate that ice cream van for everything else in retail and have it be on demand. As you can imagine, there was no apps back then. There was no app store. There was nothing on demand. But I spent several years in delivery, learning the ins and outs. And when I moved to the US, I got back in touch with him, and I told him that this idea is what's really going to solve the issues with delivery that exist today.
Goodness gracious. I mean, I'm talking to a guy here that's not just started a business, you started an industry because the thing didn't exist before. Do you see this getting to the point to where there will be store-specific applications for this? If I'm interested in getting something and it shows up and it's labeled and bannered and everything for this specific store, or do you see it staying a general type thing?
Absolutely, right. So we right now have partnered with Reef, who's our first merchant on the platform, and we're absolutely open to working with bigger retailers, supermarket chains, food companies, and like I said, we're just scratching the surface. So we want to keep the experience as simple and as convenient for consumers today, but eventually you can expect to see store hailing in a number of different formats across the US and the world.
Ali, again, it's just fascinating, and I appreciate you taking the opportunity not just to share the business, but to share the entire industry that none of us had ever heard of before. And I really wish you all the best. I know it's going great so far, and you're just getting started. Thanks for sharing your story with us today. Take care.